Good evening, everyone. My name is Mohammed Altaf. I'm the chair of the branch. Welcome to this second in the series of talks on digital transformation run by Kuldip Sandhu. Today's talk is on use cases of robotic process automation. Today, automation is ever increasing, and I guess more so in the current environment, where companies are looking to probably save in the long term. But does it all go to plan? Well, we have Kuldip to explain more on that. Just a little bit of Kuldip. Kuldip is a digital IT transformation and change practice development advisor with over 25 years of experience in many sectors, from banking to higher education. He's here to educate us on the next topic on this series, actually. So thank you, Kuldip, for that. Just a very quick one is, if you have any questions or comments, please put it down in that questions tab, and we'll get these answered at the end of the session. Right, so I will now hand you over on to Kuldip. Thank you, Kuldip.
Thank you, Mohammed Altaf. Thank you for having me back again. This is webinar number 2, and thank you for everybody attending and listening to me again. In this webinar, I'm going to be covering a couple of topics, as Mohammed has already mentioned: RPA, robotic process automation, and we have a live demo. And also, I'm going to cover a topic called BizDevSecOps, and I'll clarify what that means when I get to it. I would like to just stress that the two topic areas are, I'm going to go through at quite a high level. There's a lot of material and insight here, so you can either follow up with me afterwards, or I've already been talking to Ram and Altaf about maybe doing a deeper dive in these areas in the new year. So thank you for that. Just a little bit about me. I won't dwell too much on that. I've been working in industry, in management consultancy, and in as an interim for a number of years. I set up my business called Innovative Quality Solutions, or IQS as I call it, a few years ago now, and we really sit in that sweet spot where we help organizations develop their digital and IT transformation strategies, and then go and try to implement them with our partner ecosystem. And I have a little bit of a strap line here. We solve digital and IT transformation problems you don't think can be solved. And you can see there's a number of logos there with companies I've either worked for or clients I've worked for. I've worked in public and private sector, and plenty of business, IT, and more importantly, that transformation experience. I'm just going to quickly tell you about the series. We did webinar 1 on the 5th of November, and we covered digital transformation and IT function transformation. I'm going to do a quick recap of that, and then I'm going to move into today's topic around RPA and BizDevSecOps. And in January, there's going to be a bit around technology trends for 21, and I already have some of that content, and I'm also going to be talking about organizational change management to supplement the series. But that's next year. Today, as I said, I'm doing a bit of recap from the 5th of November, then into RPA, and as you can see, I've broken it down into bite-sized chunks. I'm going to give you some reason why I'm talking about RPA, what is RPA, the project benefits and challenges, and I've got a demo. I've got a video which shows you business process management and RPA in action. And from a BizDevSecOps, I'm going to be talking about what it is, the key pillars that underpin it, the maturity model that we've developed for a few years ago, and the benefits of this technique from an IT perspective. And I'm going to go through a couple of case studies to kind of bring that to life, and then try to wrap it up with key webinar takeaways. Hopefully they'll leave us some time for Q&A. If it doesn't, as I said, we can always follow up and do a deeper dive as I suggested before. So quick recap from the 5th of November. I wanted to show you some data that I've got from October from McKinsey, and what McKinsey quite vividly have kind of shown, and hopefully everybody can see this slide. They can see that COVID has had a significant impact on business. There's in the rows there's a number of initiatives that have been accelerated as a consequence of COVID-19 impacting organizations. For example, remote working, the survey results suggested that organizations were saying it could take up to 454 days. Actually, some of them had to do it in 10 days. So that's an acceleration factor of 43. And as you go down that list, and I'm not going to read them all through, but what you can see is COVID. In pre-COVID, we had technology adoption accelerating at an exponential pace. Along comes COVID-19, the pandemic hits. We need to work remotely, we need to work digitally, we need to satisfy customer demand online and bring in new technologies and operations. And you can see the rapid acceleration of businesses doing that digitization. For this presentation, I'm going to focus on RPA and BizDevSecOps, and they, as you can see in the blue lozenge there, they sit quite neatly in the advanced technologies in operations space. What does digital transformation, let me just move on. Digital transformation is about reinventing your business model, and this slide just shows you that you continue to, and organizations have pivoted their business models to ensure that they're meeting their customer need and thinking about the cultural change in the organization from current state to future state, solving their business problem as they go along. And those of you who think digital transformation was years away, stand corrected. I have a quote from one of my a vice chancellor at a university who said to me that their 5-year digital strategy, they've executed that in 6 months. COVID-19 has been an absolute, whilst a massive health challenge, from a technology and transformation point of view, it's just accelerated the pace of organizations galvanized, digitally focused. There's a few still with their heads in the sand and some kind of being protected organization, but the majority are being really galvanized by it. Digital transformation, just as kind of setting the scene, is around how you reinvent your business model to enhance your customer experience, enable growth and aid efficiency, and technology can act as that source of competitive advantage, differentiation for your organization. I think that one of the key lessons from COVID-19 has been technologies, and you need technology to give you business resilience in operations as well as in frontline working, but it also can give you differentiation if you experiment and develop the right product features and functions going forward. With that said, I'll move into RPA. RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation. Why RPA? Why has RPA come to the fore? It's been around, I think, mainstream for a couple of years now. As you can see on the left-hand side, some data, again, a survey that I captured in April, just after the pandemic hit in the UK. You can see the red dotted line. These are data points from senior CIO, senior IT leaders, and they said they very much said that there's going to be significant investment in RPA. On the far right hand side, you can see some data points that I captured from senior leaders I've been engaged with, and they put from my webinars that I've been doing. I've done something like 8 to 10 webinars over the last 10 months, and they put RPA as the top thing they would want to talk to. I have done a full RPA webinar which I can share with you on details, and I said this is a snapshot, but a lot of those topic areas there on that in that graph are things that we as IQS and my business we've been covering over the last few months. Just to say, RPA is not new. It's been, I think it's been predominant in the banking and financial sector, pharma, healthcare, and a little bit in IT and telecoms, and is now, I think, as investment in technology continues to enable digital business initiatives, it will continue to come to the forefront. And digitization and RPA is really, it's a support or an aid to digital transformation. RPA digitizes, i.e. it's about improving business processes and then automating them so you get effectiveness and efficiency. And then that's the strap line I've given at the bottom there. Just to kind of really draw out the difference between digital transformation and digitization. As I said, digital transformation is really about thinking how you need to pivot, think about delivering your business model and your products and services associated it with bringing in technology innovation at pace, whereas RPA is about digitization, business process improvement, and then automating those business processes so that you get that effectiveness and efficiency. As a definition, here's the Wikipedia definition. Excuse me, I just flip back. RPA is the application of technology, as in some form of computer software, robot, that can be configured to intelligently enhance a transaction. And it can also, so it gives you the ability to automate human activity, and also it will enhance your data because you won't be prone to human error. And that's one of the key reasons why organizations are now really moving towards using RPA. There's two kind of key, I would say, leader platforms in this space, Prism and UiPath. And the RPA is really enabler because it can give you, if it can give you the efficiency, and it can allow you to do things quicker, faster, better, and that can free up time. And that's important for technology and IT departments, because if you get free up time, you can get the IT leadership and teams can focus on more higher value activities and things that the IT function might want to focus on more on innovation to aid the differentiation for the business and end users and customers, rather than on mundane manual tasks. And some of the kind of manual mundane tasks I'm talking about could be in the finance department for PO processing, or it could be in the HR department when you're just sifting data into an HR system. It could also be you're deploying RPA in your contact center, where you as a contact center receptionist, you're able to talk to a client, and as you're talking to that citizen or resident, for example, you could be pulling up systems, and in the background the robots could be picking up data and information from various systems and bringing it into one single pane of truth for that receptionist, while the receptionist is talking to the citizens, and you're then able to kind of better answer some of the queries and doing the first level triage with that citizen residents in a contact center. So it's all about automating maybe high volume, low value tasks, but it can also be about automating high value, high demand tasks as well. And that's one of the challenges with RPA. It's about choosing the right processes to automate. And on this slide, what you can see are some of the pros and cons and some of the success factors or failures in RPA. One of the challenges has always been to really think about a long-term RPA strategy that feeds and aligns with the IT and digital and corporate strategy. I've seen RPA not work in certain sectors or certain organizations because it's been brought in by senior executives and it's alienated the IT department. It's probably sometimes I've seen it move too fast, and people When you move too fast, people become resistant to it. They don't know, they feel that it's going to impact their job, it's going to take away their job, the things that they do, whereas it should allow them to go and focus on higher value jobs and upskilling and reskilling themselves. So it's so important about setting expectations. And I think some of the success factors like we've seen in our RPAs, kind of educating employees that it's not about stealing their jobs, it's about also involving external partners. Last year, when I was working in the events industry, we brought in a third-party consultancy to really develop a business case around this, showed the ROI, so people at senior level were bought into it, and then also talking to all stakeholders that were likely to be impacted by it, to bring that at ease, and think it's so paramount and so important to have a well-defined RPA strategy and sponsor in place in the organization. And people know what they're doing when they do putting in RPA, because it requires technical skills, it needs process skills, it needs workflow mapping skills, and making sure. And I think the most important thing, whilst not other things I'm not saying other things aren't important, is selecting the right processes, is the making sure that you kind of start automating the right areas to give you real success in the small part of the business, because then you can sell the benefits and then things can mushroom, and that's so important. The benefits are plentiful. Here is an RPA maturity model that we've developed, and here's different levels of RPA maturity that you can go on from 1 to 5, and the benefits are quite explanatory there. You can it allows you to become more agile in terms of managing resources. If you can free up time, you can focus on, there's less rework, you can focus on other parts of delivery, you can speed up the processing of transactions, and that's really important. And the other thing is, because it's a robot, it's not prone to human error, and it's not gonna argue with you. It's just gonna keep on doing the task. People who do mundane tasks day in, day out are likely to become prone or error prone, because it's so monotonous, and therefore they can get distracted, and a robot won't. The other thing that you can get from putting in these kind of robotics in place is actually starting to standardize processes. RPA, you only automate processes that are well defined, and what RPA will do is force you as an organization to think about your IT processes and your business processes. And if you haven't got standardized processes with well-defined touch points and handoffs, it can become cumbersome, especially it actually probably means that it's not a candidate for RPA. And also, I think if you program your robot to do those manual tasks well, it can really give you good data hygiene and reuse. And as I also said, the efficiencies can translate into cost savings or FTE cost savings with time. Okay, I'm going to now see if this works. We've got a little demo. I've got a video which is about 6-7 minutes, which shows you RPA in progress. And I work with a third-party implementation partner called Symbox, and Symbox put this video together for us. They are RPA business process management specialists, and they, excuse me as I just try to get to the right area, they are very much been working in the media, telecoms, industry sectors, and UK and US and Middle East and Africa focused, and they really have developed this BPM, business process management platform, which is very low code or no code, and they effectively can manage, map out those business workflows, and then automate with RPA. So I'm gonna try to get this video working now and to show you RPA in action. So watch the flow as we go from CRM into an orchestrated API integrated model for sales. And as the workflow gets implemented, then we'll kick off an RPA robot to do the low-level manual tasks. And at the end, what you'll see is some of the benefits from doing this technique. And Altaf, can I ask you just to give me a hands up or a notification that you can hear the video as I play it?
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Okay, I'm kicking off now. Can you hear it?
It's starting. Can you put the volume? It says listening, click on audio.
Okay. Audio. Yes, let me try it again. Tell me if you can hear it now.
Yeah, I can hear.
You just confirm that you did hear that.
I heard it and it went off, you know.
Okay, I stopped it. So ready, I'm going to start now. Great, thank you. Show screen.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep. Sorry about that. It's things froze on me. Apologies. So I'll crack back into it if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So just to that's the end of the RPA piece. Hopefully, just to summarize, that's given everybody a good feel of that was a kind of a live demo of RPA in action with business process management and some of the value and the benefits that you can get. I would strongly suggest that you need to choose the right processes, make sure that they're well defined, and therefore making the right selection to automate them. But you can see from that example with Symbox, there was a workflow defined, there was an RPA doing the manual task, and you know, if you've got a robot that can work 24/7, that's going to give you efficiency and cost savings in the long term. I'm going to now move on to my second topic, which I'm just looking at time. I think what we're going to do is now focus on BizDevSecOps. And BizDevSecOps is just an extension of DevOps. I hope some of you out there are familiar with DevOps, but I'll start with DevOps and then talk about how you need to incorporate security into that. And Biz is the business. You need to have DevOps, and from an DevSecOps, from an IT perspective, closely working with the business to give you some of the tangible benefits of this space. So DevOps is a culture and it's a practice that was born out of. Oh, can you still hear me? I had a little buzz.
I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah. So DevOps was born out of getting development and operations in IT to work better together, to collaborate in a better way. Development is traditionally all about change and new functions and features, whereas and therefore agility, whereas operations is usually typically about stability, ensuring that whatever comes from development gets pushed into live, it's supported and it's well maintained. But there's an argument that there's that kind of gate between the two. The two need to work better and closer so that you can get continuous integration and working in a more agile fashion. And the DevOps movement really, for me, started kicking. It's been around since 2010, but it really took off in 2015. And I think some of the larger banking organizations have really taken DevOps to heart. My mantra on this is DevOps is a cultural way of working, and you can see there's loads of quotes there. I'm not going to go through all those quotes, but DevOps is how you collaborate, how you share, how you communicate, how you work better between development operations. And my extension is that in this kind of volatile change world, we need to ensure that security is brought into it, so making sure everything, all the products and services that we develop are secure. And importantly, we need to align it to the business. And I'll try to show you a diagram that brings that together. In this diagram, what I've shown here is the business working with development and operations. Agile typically will fix that business to IT link. So this is where you're developing a product backlog with either with requirements and functions and features and story use cases and stories, and they then get agreed with IT in terms of what features and functions will be burnt down and developed. And development are working very closely with operations in that DevOps way to ensure that those functions and features are introduced into the live environment in a secure and safe way. So you need the business, development, and operations working together, hence the term BizDevSecOps. And this diagram is a way of sort of bringing all that together. But on top of that, you still need to have your strategies and your visions and your leadership giving you the purpose of why you're developing your products and services. And the reason that I wanted to show you this diagram around BizDevSecOps is because we, in organizations, we typically organize ourselves in verticals. We'll have vertical functions with vertical staff working in virtual departments. And actually, I think that's a little, and mixing that into a kind of a matrix model. But what actually really should be focusing is on products and services that cuts horizontally, and getting those teams incentivized to be developing those products and services and the outcomes you want from those products and services in a horizontal way. And for me, it's about getting business and IT and operations working in that collaborative way. And let me just give you an example of that. How would you do that? Well, you need to think about all your component stakeholders. So this is I call this the cookie cutter diagram. You've got your security infrastructure development, you've got business, your data, your enterprise apps, your architecture people, all focused in teams, working collectively, reducing waste, communicating together, and sharing knowledge and automating things in a DevOps way. The way that you do that is typically you pick one project and you think about these fragmented teams and you get them to coalesce. You still need your agile way of working, you still need your lean and your DevOps, and you still need your IT service management and your processes, your IT service management processes to give you that governance. So, and those ITSM processes are prime for automation. Again, automating processes is one of the mantras of DevOps. And as you develop that, coalesce in that kind of bubble there of those teams, with those all working together with your defined ways of working, you're starting to develop your continuous integration, continuous development pipeline. And what you can then also think about is your tools that you had in your software development lifecycle, how you're going to automate those to give you that more agile, kind of more leaner business service. The BizDevSec model that we've developed is based on 6 pillars. It has those 6 traits of, and it's based on the foundations of DevOps, i.e. the CALMs, i.e. culture, automation, lean IT, measurement and sharing. And just to quickly go through those, culture is all about making sure that people are empowered with the right ways of working. They know the right behaviors, they've got the right strategies, and leadership are supportive of the culture of experimentation and automation, reducing waste. Automation is about developing that continuous integration and development pipeline. So you're doing it in smaller chunks. They're more agile, they're more visible, they're more transparent, and they're smaller, and therefore you can release quicker. And that gives that principle of lean IT, where teams are continually developing functional features and release changes and releases in small bite chunks. And we're moving away from service level agreements to expectation level management, XLAs, where you're having expectation management about products and services with the business. You still need your leadership and strategy, as I talked about. And then there's also this concept of sharing in DevOps, where you have a shared platform of collaboration, you're building knowledge bases, and they're all discoverable, and lessons are learned. There's retrospectives going on, and you're ensuring that the team are learning and people getting coached and mentored. And finally, measurement. Measurement's really important. Some of the key measurements are how fast do you deploy into production. There's typically in a waterfall organization, there's major releases, and they happen once a year or 6 monthly. But we are now getting into a world where technology is evolving so fast. We're developing chunks of software that gets released not just daily, but we're talking about hourly, and measuring mean time to restore, so that there's if those changes or releases fail, you can fail quickly and have a backup, and you can back out that change, and therefore your mean time to restore is kept as a minimum. And you want to reduce your failure rate, and you want to increase the commitment or the lead time for code commitment to deployment increases. We have a little maturity model that we've also developed around BizDevOps, and you can see in the six dimensions that cover strategy, leadership, culture, automation, lean, and measurement. And there's a sequential ladder to go up levels 1 to 5. You kind of build leadership supports that culture of iterative change. You standardize in your ITSM processes, and you think about automating them. You get that alignment, that horizontal alignment I talked about, rather than that vertical matrix type organization. And you start thinking about your value streams. And value streams tend to be where across your product and service are the touch points from departments and functional groups, and how can you reduce those touch points by eliminating waste or automating things. And then ultimately you can become aligned to the business, and you bring about IT agility, and that goes up the ladder, the maturity curve there. Some of the findings around DevOps. Here's people who've worked in the DevOps world will know of the DORA report that comes out each year. This is a little bit of an extract, and what this is showing is where those high-performing organizations are better able to release software something like 200 times faster, more deployment, 106 times faster, 208 more times. So delivering software quickly, reliably, safely, so that you're bringing about that transformational change. You're enhancing speed and agility, bringing about that change and performance of IT aligned to the business needs. And I think this also helps with staff morale and productivity, and it can give you better work-life balance. Because if you're constantly reworking and you're fixing several incidences, that can be you're in a really kind of culture of rework that can really burn you out, where you want to be constantly innovating and releasing changes in a more productive way. And I think this technique has proven that. And there's also some of the other things that you can do is actually bundle changes in smaller chunks. And I'm going to give you a quick example of how we've introduced faster, quicker change mechanisms in an organization. Just to finalize on the benefits, high customer satisfaction, business driven, reduction in optimal value, but reducing risk because you're iterating faster, you're engaging with your customers more frequently, and you've got feedback loops as well, and your time to market gets reduced as well, shorter time to market, and efficient IT operations, less siloed thinking, more horizontal focus as well. So I'm just going to now go into a couple of case studies, which should take us a few minutes, and then I'll try to open it up to questions as well. These two case studies, whilst they're separate, they're focused on change management. The first one, I was working at British Transport Police a couple of years ago, and we introduced ITIL-based change management processes. And I think DevOps needs to work and does work with ITIL and service management. We've always got to remember that if you don't have a process, it's not repeatable if it's not defined. And if it's not repeatable, you can't measure it, and you won't be able to automate it. Processes that cannot be measured cannot be improved, and that's so important to ensure that we know what our IT processes are, but then we work in a culture of DevOps and Agile to ensure that productivity at the same time. So what we did, we use ITIL best practices to think about what change process would be, from creating a change, assessing it, authorizing it, and implementing and reviewing it. We mapped out the as-is. Here's the as-is process from the phases of creating, assessing, authorizing, and so forth. And then some of the actors that were involved, from the change owner, the change management owner, and then what happens at the CAB. Most people should be familiar with the CAB, or the Change Advisory Board, who helps accept and approve, reject changes. And that can be quite a bureaucratic process. So the types of change that we said that process doesn't really align with best practice. We said we need to think about change in a different way. We need to think about standard changes. And here in this slide, I've got a little pyramid that shows the different types of changes and the impact that they can have, and priority and risk associated with them. So there's typically standard changes, there's minor changes, major changes, and project changes and emergency changes. And the ones I want you to kind of hold in your mind are those standard changes and minor changes. If you can work with standard, pre-approved, or low impact risk, less complex changes, you can do more of those quicker. That can give you that agility, and that's what BizDevSecOps is focusing on. Automating processes, fixing change, bringing in changes quicker, faster, better, so that you get less rework. It's more transparent. There's continuous feedback loops to your client and customer, and you can implement them because they're a lower risk. And that agility way is the world of DevOps and how it works with within operations and within the business. And the CAB kind of covers more of the major and larger changes. So we then mapped out the 2B process. We introduced what those different types of changes were. We introduced what change management was and how it fits into emergency changes and the CAB and minor, major, and project changes. So that was kind of an example of how to develop best practice processes. But the step change to move into a DevOps world was this second case study. And this was in a heavily regulated banking environment. And what we did here is we introduced the concept of the Agile change template. So if you remember, I was talking about those low risk standard changes or low risk changes. And what we did here is we said, well, we can automate that those changes through a template. We created this Agile change template, which took all the data for those changes, and we automated it, and we put some governance around it. And some of the outcomes, and the biggest bang for the buck there was it didn't require CAB approval or any additional documentation, because it captured all the information we needed, and it kind of fitted into the kind of standard changes. And what happened is, as you can see, some of the benefits and the outcomes there. The Agile change process was running for 18 months. We reduced the change lead time from 5 days to 15 minutes. Some of the application teams where these changes were being introduced were able to release 8 times more frequently, and 18% of releases started using that the accelerated change template, and that was 10% in 2019, but we finished our work in 2019, and we're not quite sure where that's gone now yet. But then there was 220 releases per month rather than 160 before that, and typically high priority one instance per month were reduced. We're only getting one per month, P1s and P2s, and this obviously gives you significant cost savings per release, excluding the benefits of going to faster market. So there we used automation to enhance the change process, remove the governance in terms of needing around a cab, and bringing those changes in quicker, faster, better to give the better quality and agility from IT aligned to the business needs. I'm going to quickly wrap up. As I did say, there's two topics here. Here are some of the key takeaways. If we go back to the beginning, what we said, that is COVID-19 has accelerated the adoption of digital technology business initiatives. RPA can and has shown to have proven benefits around automating low value, high volume, or high value, low high volume tasks within the business to drive that efficiency and productivity. If you combine it with business process management, it will help you drive that business efficiency and productivity. You can RPA will also force you to standardize the way you work in your processes. That will help with compliance and regulations, and will reduce that manual error and give you higher data quality. And I think RPA, if you develop a full-blown strategy, aids IT and digital transformation. Moving on to the BizDevSecOps area, I think it's proven now that many high-performing organizations have got significant benefits from adopting DevOps, such as that increased delivery, visibility, enhanced customer satisfaction, reduction in risk, and being efficient in their IT operations. BizDevSecOps is just an extension of DevOps with the security elements and aligning to the business, and it really does help you transform and bring about that alignment between business and IT. I introduced you the 6 pillars of the maturity model for BizDevSecOps. It covers the CALMS kind of principles and includes leadership and strategy and change elements. And I think you can we've used that maturity model to undertake service assessments and to baseline where you are on that journey. And I think it's just to conclude, I think it's really important to have your IT function working with the business in this area to bring about that cultural mindset of agility, speed, delivery, and getting the IT lead, not only the IT leadership, but the business understanding the value of the benefits of that transformational change. With that said, I am going to stop and take questions and hand over to Altaf.
Thank you, Kuldip. Thank you very much for that. We've got a question here. What skill sets are required for end users to make new automated processes?
Just can you repeat the question? What skill sets are required
for end users to make new automated processes?
Well, I think there's a whole raft of skills, and if you get your product and your service right, your end users should be getting a great experience, right? So what I mean by that is you need to be I think IT people and technologists need to be thinking about the end user experience for whatever systems they're developing. So that means not only performance and stability, but it's things like click-throughs and how quickly can I navigate between a pane and a window. So I think the skill sets we should be thinking about the skill sets required in IT and technology and in business to be able to develop that experience, that IT experience, so the end users get that benefit and value. So users, when they open up a system, you can log on quickly. It gives you, it's secure. You can move from window to window efficiently, so there's high usability. So I think the skill sets question is really about having the understanding what the customer journey is, having the technical skills around developing and working with end users to understand their requirements and breaking them down so that, and then showing them those features and functionality as you develop that product or service. So it's a whole gambit of stuff: business analysis skills, technical skills, relationship skills, requirements gathering, facilitation skills. It's a whole gambit of things that makes that you need from a technology and business perspective to give you that end user experience, I think.
Thank you. I'm conscious of the time, just very quickly. In your experience, how would you decide what to automate first?
Right. I would always think about the the high volume, the low value manual tasks. So some of the processes that I've seen. So one of the projects I did last year was in a finance system, and we were focusing on processing purchase orders and invoices, because the finance analysts, these are kind of mundane tasks that you can move data from one window to another. You know, it could be the PO number, it could be the address of the client. So processes where it requires where somebody's it's kind of quite mundane, it's quite high volume, it happens all the time. So finance processes are a really good one. Is a good area to focus in on first, and that's one of the ones I did last year. The other areas I really think are, you can think of robotics on a help desk. I was giving you the example of a contact center. A contact center, you can get a call in, and you might want to use robotics or sitting in the background to pull up a number of one or many systems. So when a call comes into a contact center, the person who picks up that call sometimes manually has to call or bring up 10 to 11 screens of different systems. There could be finance system to a youth offending system. So if we can use robotics there to help draw out what data you need to give the information that the resident may be wanting, that's a great use case. And I've seen that has become a real core business project for well-defined processes in the contact center. So the other ones you could think about are procurement, HR. There's HR manual processes, procurement, finance, contact center. Those are the key ones that I've seen as the ones that I've seen some real good use cases.
Sorry, yes. Thank you, Kuldip. Just conscious of the time. Great talk, Kuldip. I think a lot to take in there. I guess particularly with the future, isn't it? Where would that sit? Is it going to increase in terms of automation because of the current situation, and things like that? So quite a lot to, I guess, think how.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it is. So the thing to think about is if as businesses have been impacted by COVID, there's lots of investment going in technology, and especially around operations and business resiliency. As we come out of that, I think there'll be continued investment in techniques and solutions like RPA, because I think there's going to be, can we reduce costs and get efficiency from technology, but also can we use technology in a more advanced strategic way? So there's going to be some organizations looking at one or more or both, or maybe some focusing more on cost reduction. It depends.
Great. Again, thank you, Kuldip, for that interesting talk, and thank you everyone for attending. I will be closing this presentation. Please keep looking at our website. We've got our next event, I think on the 15th, on remote working and video conferencing. Is it here to stay? So please, if you haven't signed up, please sign up for it. And we've got Kuldip's next one in January. So look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Altaf.